Even the philosophers themselves, as they are called, pursue the thing philosophy, by beginning with things which are common to them and others. As soon as they have assumed a cloak and grown a beard, they say, I am a philosopher. But no man will say, I am a musician, if he has bought a plectrum, fiddlestick, and a lute, nor will he say, I am a smith, if he has put on a cap and apron. But the dress is fitted to the art, and they take their name from the art, and not from the dress. For this reason Euphrates used to say, well, a long time I strove to be a philosopher without people knowing it, and this, he said, was useful to me. For first I knew that when I did anything well, I did not do it for the sake of the spectators, but for the sake of myself. I ate well for the sake of myself. I had my countenance well composed and my walk all for myself and for God. Then as I struggled alone, so I alone also was in danger. In no respect through me, if I did anything base or unbecoming, was philosophy endangered, nor did I injure the many by doing anything wrong as a philosopher. For this reason those who did not know my purpose used to wonder how it was that while I conversed and lived altogether with all philosophers, I was not a philosopher myself. And what was the harm for me to be known to be a philosopher by my acts and not by outward marks? See how I eat, how I drink, how I sleep, how I bear and forbear, how I cooperate, how I employ desire, how I employ aversion turning from things, how I maintain the relations to things, those which are natural or those which are acquired, how free from confusion, how free from hindrance. Judge of me from this, if you can. But if you are so deaf and blind that you cannot conceive even Hephaestus to be a good smith, unless you see the cap on his head, what is the harm in not being recognized by so foolish a judge? So Socrates was not known to be a philosopher by most persons, and they used to come to him and ask to be introduced to philosophers. Was he vexed then as we are, and did he say, and do you not think that I am a philosopher? No, but he would take them and introduce them, being satisfied with one thing, with being a philosopher. And being pleased also with not being thought to be a philosopher, he was not annoyed, for he thought of his own occupation. What is the work of an honorable and good man, to have many pupils? By no means, they will look to this matter who are earnest about it. But was it his business to examine carefully difficult theorems? Others will look after these matters also. In what then was he, and who was he, and whom did he wish to be? He was in that, employed in that, wherein there was hurt, damage, and advantage. If any man can damage me, he says, I am doing nothing. If I am waiting for another man to do me good, I am nothing. If I wish for anything and it does not happen, I am unfortunate. To such a contest he invited every man, and I do not think that he would have declined the contest with anyone. What do you suppose? Was it by proclaiming and saying, I am such a man? Far from it, but by being such a man. For further, this is the character of a fool and a boaster to say, I am free from passions and disturbance. Do not be ignorant, my friends, that while you are uneasy and disturbed about things of no value, I alone am free from all perturbation. So is it not enough for you to feel no pain, unless you make this proclamation? Come together all who are suffering gout, pains in the head, fever, ye who are lame, blind, and observe that I am sound, free from every ailment. This is empty and disagreeable to hear, unless like Aesculapius you are able to show immediately by what kind of treatment they also shall be immediately free from disease, and unless you show your own health as an example. For such is the cynic who is honored with the scepter and the diadem by Zeus, and says, that you may see, O men, that you seek happiness and tranquility not where it is, but where it is not. Behold, I am sent to you by God as an example, I who have neither property nor house, nor wife nor children, not even a bed, nor coat, nor household utensil. And see how healthy I am. Try me, and if you see that I am free from perturbations. Here are the remedies and how I have been cured, treated. This is both philanthropic and noble. But see whose work it is, the work of Zeus, or of him whom he may judge worthy of this service, that he may never exhibit anything to the many, by which he shall make of no effect his own testimony, whereby he gives testimony to virtue, and bears evidence against external things. His beauteous face pales not, nor from his cheeks he wipes a tear. Odyssey, Roman 11, 524. And not this only, but he neither desires nor seeks anything, nor man, nor place, nor amusement, as children seek the vintage or holidays, always fortified by modesty, as others are fortified by walls and doors and doorkeepers. But now these men being only moved to philosophy, as those who have a bad stomach are moved to some kinds of food which they soon loathe, straightway rush towards the scepter and to the royal power. They let the hair grow, they assume the cloak, they show the shoulder bare, they quarrel with those whom they meet, and if they see a man in a thick winter coat, they quarrel with him. Man. First exercise yourself in winter weather, see your movements, inclinations, that they are not those of a man with a bad stomach or those of a longing woman. First strive that it be not known what you are, be a philosopher to yourself, or philosophize to yourself a short time. Fruit grows thus, the seed must be buried for some time, hid, grows slowly in order that it may come to perfection. But if it produces the ear before the jointed stem, it is imperfect, a produce of the garden of Adonis. Such a poor plant are you also, you have blossomed too soon, the cold weather will scorch you up. See what the husbandmen say about seeds when there is warm weather too early. They are afraid lest the seeds should be too luxuriant, and then a single frost should lay hold of them and show that they are too forward. You also consider. My man, you have shot out too soon, you have hurried towards a little fame before the proper season. You think that you are something, a fool among fools. You will be caught by the frost, and rather you have been frostbitten in the root below, but your upper parts still blossom a little, and for this reason you think that you are still alive and flourishing. Allow us to ripen in the natural way. Why do you expose us? Why do you force us? We are not yet able to bear the air. Let the root grow, then acquire the first joint, then the second, and then the third. In this way then the fruit will naturally force itself out, even if I do not choose. For who that is pregnant and filled with such great principles does not also perceive his own powers and move toward the corresponding acts? A bull is not ignorant of his own nature and his powers when a wild beast shows itself, nor does he wait for one to urge him on, nor a dog when he sees a wild animal. But if I have the powers of a good man, shall I wait for you to prepare me for my own proper acts? At present I have them not, believe me. Why then do you wish me to be withered up before the time, as you have been withered up? Chapter Roman 9, to a person who had been changed to a character of shamelessness. When you see another man in the possession of power, magistracy, set against this the fact that you have not the want, desire of power. When you see another rich, see what you possess in place of riches. For if you possess nothing in place of them, you are miserable, but if you have not the want of riches, know that you possess more than this man possesses, and what is worth much more. Another man possesses a handsome woman, wife. You have the satisfaction of not desiring a handsome wife. Do these things appear to you to be small? And how much would these persons give, these very men who are rich and in possession of power and live with handsome women, to be able to despise riches and power, and these very women whom they love and enjoy? Do you not know then what is the thirst of a man who has a fever? He possesses that which is in no degree like the thirst of a man who is in health. For the man who is in health ceases to be thirsty after he has drunk, but the sick man being pleased for a short time has a nausea. He converts the drink into bile, vomits, is griped and more thirsty. It is such a thing to have desire of riches and to possess riches, desire of power and to possess power, desire of a beautiful woman and to sleep with her. To this is added jealousy, fear of being deprived of the thing which you love, indecent words, indecent thoughts, unseemly acts. And what do I lose? You will say, my man, you were modest, and you are so no longer. Have you lost nothing? In place of Chrysippus and Zeno, you read Aristides and Evenus. Have you lost nothing? In place of Socrates and Diogenes, you admire him who is able to corrupt and seduce most women. You wish to appear handsome and try to make yourself so, though you are not. You like to display splendid clothes that you may attract women. And if you find any fine oil for the hair, you imagine that you are happy. But formerly you did not think of any such thing, but only where there should be decent talk, a worthy man, and a generous conception. Therefore you slept like a man, walked forth like a man, wore a manly dress, and used to talk in a way becoming a good man. Then do you say to me, I have lost nothing. So do men lose nothing more than coin? Is not modesty lost? Is not decent behavior lost? Is it that he who has lost these things has sustained no loss? Perhaps you think that not one of these things is a loss. But there was a time when you reckoned this the only loss and damage, and you were anxious that no man should disturb you from these good words and actions. Observe, you are disturbed from these good words and actions by nobody but by yourself. Fight with yourself, restore yourself to decency, to modesty, to liberty. If any man ever told you this about me, that person forces me to be an adulterer, to wear such a dress as yours, to perfume myself with oils, would you not have gone and with your own hand have killed the man who thus calumniated me? Now will you not help yourself? And how much easier is this help? There is no need to kill any man, nor to put him in chains, nor to treat him with contumely, nor to enter the forum, go to the courts of law. But it is only necessary for you to speak to yourself, who will be most easily persuaded, with whom no man has more power of persuasion than yourself. First of all, condemn what you are doing, and then when you have condemned it, do not despair of yourself, and be not in the condition of those men of mean spirit, who, when they have once given in, surrender themselves completely and are carried away as if by a torrent. But see what the trainers of boys do. Has the boy fallen? Rise, they say, wrestle again till you are made strong. Do you also do something of the same kind, for be well assured that nothing is more tractable than the human soul. You must exercise the will, and the thing is done, it is set right, as on the other hand, only fall a nodding, be careless, and the thing is lost, for from within comes ruin, and from within comes help. Then, you say, what good do I gain, and what greater good do you seek than this? From a shameless man you will become a modest man, from a disorderly you will become an orderly man, from a faithless you will become a faithful man, from a man of unbridled habits a sober man. If you seek anything more than this, go on doing what you are doing. Not even a God can now help you. Chapter X, what things we ought to despise, and what things we ought to value. The difficulties of all men are about external things, their helplessness is about externals. What shall I do? How will it be? How will it turn out? Will this happen? Will that? All these are the words of those who are turning themselves to things which are not within the power of the will. For who says, how shall I not assent to that which is false? How shall I not turn away from the truth? If a man be of such a good disposition as to be anxious about these things, I will remind him of this. Why are you anxious? The thing is in your own power, be assured. Do not be precipitate in assenting before you apply the natural rule. On the other side, if a man is anxious, uneasy about desire, lest it fail in its purpose and miss its end, and with respect to the avoidance of things, lest he should fall into that which he would avoid, I will first love him, because he throws away the things about which others are in a flutter, others' desire and their fears, and employs his thoughts about his own affairs and his own condition. Then I shall say to him, if you do not choose to desire that which you will fail to obtain, nor to attempt to avoid that into which you will fall, desire nothing which belongs to, which is in the power of others, nor try to avoid any of the things which are not in your power. If you do not observe this rule, you must of necessity fail in your desires and fall into that which you would avoid. What is the difficulty here? Where is there room for the words, how will it be, and how will it turn out, and will this happen or that? Now is not that which will happen independent of the will? Yes, and the nature of good and of evil, is it not in the things which are within the power of the will? Yes, is it in your power then to treat according to nature everything which happens? Can any person hinder you? No man. No longer then say to me, how will it be? For however it may be, you will dispose of it well, and the result to you will be a fortunate one. What would Hercules have been if he said, how shall a great lion not appear to me, or a great boar, or savage men? And what do you care for that? If a great boar appear, you will fight a greater fight. If bad men appear, you will relieve the earth of the bad. Suppose then that I lose my life in this way. You will die a good man doing a noble act. For since we must certainly die of necessity, a man must be found doing something, either following the employment of a husbandman, or digging, or trading, or serving in a consulship, or suffering from indigestion or from diarrhea. What then do you wish to be doing when you are found by death? I for my part would wish to be found doing something which belongs to a man, beneficent, suitable to the general interest, noble. But if I cannot be found doing things so great, I would be found doing at least that which I cannot be hindered from doing, that which is permitted me to do, correcting myself, cultivating the faculty which makes use of appearances, laboring at freedom from the effects, laboring at tranquility of mind, rendering to the relations of life their due, if I succeed so far. Also I would be found touching on advancing to the third topic or head, safety in the forming judgments about things. If death surprises me when I am busy about these things, it is enough for me if I can stretch out my hands to God and say, the means which I have received from thee, foreseeing thy administration of the world, and following it, I have not neglected, I have not dishonored thee by my acts. See how I have used my perceptions, see how I have used my preconceptions. Have I ever blamed thee? Have I been discontented with anything that happens, or wished it to be otherwise? Have I wished to transgress the established relations of things? That thou hast given me life, I thank thee for what thou hast given. So long as I have used the things which are thine, I am content. Take them back and place them wherever thou mayest choose, for thine were all things. Thou gavest them to me. Is it not enough to depart in this state of mind? And what life is better and more becoming than that of a man who is in this state of mind? And what end is more happy? But that this may be done, that such a declaration may be made, a man must bear no small things, nor are the things small which he must lose go without. You cannot both wish to be a consul and to have these things, the power of making such a dying speech, and to be eager to have lands and these things also, and to be solicitous about slaves and about yourself. But if you wish for anything which belongs to another, that which is your own is lost. This is the nature of the thing, nothing is given or had for nothing, and where is the wonder? If you wish to be a consul, you must keep awake, run about, kiss hands, waste yourself with exhaustion at other men's doors, say and do many things unworthy of a free man, send gifts to many, daily presents to some. And what is the thing that is got? 12 bundles of rods, the consular fasces, to sit 3 or 4 times on the tribunal, to exhibit the games in the circus, and to give suppers in small baskets. Or if you do not agree about this, let someone show me what there is besides these things. In order then to secure freedom from passions, letter 1 F00 pi alpha phi epsilon iota alpha sigma, tranquility, to sleep well when you do sleep, to be really awake when you are awake, to fear nothing. To be anxious about nothing, will you spend nothing and give no labor. But if anything belonging to you be lost while you are thus busied, or be wasted badly, or another obtains what you ought to have obtained, will you immediately be vexed at what has happened? Will you not take into the account on the other side what you receive, and for what, how much for how much, do you expect to have for nothing things so great? And how can you, one work thing has no community with another? You cannot have both external things after bestowing care on them and your own ruling faculty, but if you would have those, give up this. If you do not, you will have neither this nor that, while you are drawn in different ways to both. The oil will be spilled, the household vessels will perish. That may be, but I shall be free from passions, tranquil. There will be a fire when I am not present. And the books will be destroyed, but I shall treat appearances according to nature. Well, but I shall have nothing to eat. If I am so unlucky, death is a harbor, and death is the harbor for all. This is the place of refuge, and for this reason not one of the things in life is difficult. As soon as you choose, you are out of the house, and are smoked no more. Why then are you anxious? Why do you lose your sleep? Why do you not straightway, after considering wherein your good is and your evil, say, both of them are in my power? Neither can any man deprive me of the good, nor involve me in the bad against my will. Why do I not throw myself down and snore, for all that I have is safe? As to the things which belong to others, he will look to them who gets them, as they may be given by him who has the power. Who am I who wish to have them in this way or in that? Is a power of selecting them given to me? Has any person made me the dispenser of them? Those things are enough for me over which I have power. I ought to manage them as well as I can, and all the rest, as the master of them, God may choose. When a man has these things before his eyes, does he keep awake and turn hither and thither? What would he have, or what does he regret, Patroclus or Antilochus or Menelaus? For when did he suppose that any of his friends was immortal, and when had he not before his eyes that on the morrow or the day after he or his friend must die? Yes, he says, but I thought that he would survive me and bring up my son. You were a fool for that reason. And you were thinking of what was uncertain. Why then do you not blame yourself and sit crying like girls? But he used to set my food before me. Because he was alive, you fool, but now he cannot. But Automedon will set it before you, and if Automedon also dies, you will find another. But if the pot in which your meat was cooked should be broken, must you die of hunger because you have not the pot which you are accustomed to? Do you not send and buy a new pot, he says. No greater ill than this could fall on me. Iliad, Roman 19, 321. Why is this your ill? You then, instead of removing it, blame your mother Thetis for not foretelling it to you that you might continue grieving from that time. What do you think? Do you not suppose that Homer wrote this that we may learn that those of noblest birth, the strongest and the richest, the most handsome, when they have not the opinions which they ought to have, are not prevented from being most wretched and unfortunate? Chapter Roman 11, about purity, cleanliness. Some persons raise a question whether the social feeling is contained in the nature of man, and yet I think that these same persons would have no doubt that love of purity is certainly contained in it, and that if man is distinguished from other animals by anything, he is distinguished by this. When then we see any other animal cleaning itself, we are accustomed to speak of the act with surprise, and to add that the animal is acting like a man. And on the other hand, if a man blames an animal for being dirty, straightway as if we were making an excuse for it, we say that of course the animal is not a human creature. So we suppose that there is something superior in man, and that we first receive it from the gods. For since the gods by their nature are pure and free from corruption, so far as men approach them by reason, so far do they cling to purity and to a love habit of purity. But since it is impossible that man's nature, Omicron letter 1F50 sigma iota alpha, can be altogether pure being mixed composed of such materials, reason is applied as far as it is possible, and reason endeavors to make human nature love purity. The first then and highest purity is that which is in the soul, and we say the same of impurity. Now you could not discover the impurity of the soul as you could discover that of the body, but as to the soul, what else could you find in it than that which makes it filthy in respect to the acts which are her own? Now the acts of the soul are movement towards an object or movement from it, desire, aversion, preparation, design, purpose, assent. What then is it which in these acts makes the soul filthy and impure? Nothing else than her own bad judgments, kappa iota mu alpha tau alpha. Consequently, the impurity of the soul is the soul's bad opinions, and the purification of the soul is the planting in it of proper opinions, and the soul is pure which has proper opinions, for the soul alone in her own acts is free from perturbation and pollution. Now we ought to work at something like this in the body also, as far as we can. It was impossible for the defluxions of the nose not to run when man has such a mixture in his body. For this reason nature has made hands and the nostrils themselves as channels for carrying off the humors. If then a man sucks up the defluxions, I say that he is not doing the act of man. It was impossible for a man's feet not to be made muddy and not be soiled at all when he passes through dirty places. For this reason nature, God, has made water in hands. It was impossible that some impurity should not remain in the teeth from eating. For this reason, she says, wash the teeth. Why? In order that you may be a man and not a wild beast or a hog. It was impossible that from the sweat and the pressing of the clothes there should not remain some impurity about the body which requires to be cleaned away. For this reason water, oil, hands, towels, scrapers, strigils, niter, sometimes all other kinds of means are necessary for cleaning the body. You do not act so, but the smith will take off the rust from the iron instruments, and he will have tools prepared for this purpose. And you yourself wash the platter when you are going to eat, if you are not completely impure and dirty. But will you not wash the body nor make it clean? Why? he replies, I will tell you again, in the first place that you may do the acts of a man, then that you may not be disagreeable to those with whom you associate. You do something of this kind even in this matter, and you do not perceive it. You think that you deserve to stink. Let it be so, deserve to stink. Do you think that also those who sit by you, those who recline at table with you, that those who kiss you deserve the same? Either go into a desert where you deserve to go, or live by yourself and smell yourself. For it is just that you alone should enjoy your own impurity. But when you are in a city, to behave so inconsiderately and foolishly, to what character do you think that it belongs? If nature had entrusted to you a horse, would you have overlooked and neglected him? And now think that you have been entrusted with your own body as with a horse. Wash it, wipe it, take care that no man turns away from it, that no one gets out of the way for it. But who does not get out of the way of a dirty man, of a stinking man, of a man whose skin is foul, more than he does out of the way of a man who is daubed with muck? That smell is from without, it is put upon him. But the other smell is from want of care, from within, and in a manner from a body in putrefaction. But Socrates washed himself seldom. Yes, but his body was clean and fair, and it was so agreeable and sweet that the most beautiful and the most noble loved him, and desired to sit by him rather than by the side of those who had the handsomest forms. It was in his power neither to use the bath nor to wash himself if he chose, and yet the rare use of water had an effect. If you do not choose to wash with warm water, wash with cold. But Aristophanes says, those who are pale, unshod, 'tis those I mean. The Clouds, line 102. For Aristophanes says of Socrates that he also walked the air and stole clothes from the palaestra. But all who have written about Socrates bear exactly the contrary evidence in his favor. They say that he was pleasant not only to hear, but also to see. On the other hand, they write the same about Diogenes. For we ought not even by the appearance of the body to deter the multitude from philosophy, but as in other things. A philosopher should show himself cheerful and tranquil, so also he should in the things that relate to the body. See ye men that I have nothing, that I want nothing. See how I am without a house, and without a city, and an exile, if it happens to be so, and without a hearth I live more free from trouble, and more happily than all of noble birth, and than the rich. But look at my poor body also, and observe that it is not injured by my hard way of living. But if a man says this to me, who has the appearance, dress, and face of a condemned man, what god shall persuade me to approach philosophy if it makes men such persons? Far from it, I would not choose to do so, even if I were going to become a wise man. I indeed would rather that a young man, who is making his first movements towards philosophy, should come to me with his hair carefully trimmed than with it dirty and rough, for there is seen in him a certain notion, appearance of beauty, and a desire of attempt at that which is becoming, and where he supposes it to be, there also he strives that it shall be. It is only necessary to show him what it is, and to say, young man, you seek beauty, and you do well. You must know then that it grows, is produced, in that part of you where you have the rational faculty. Seek it there where you have the movements towards and the movements from things, where you have the desires towards and the aversion from things, for this is what you have in yourself of a superior kind. But the poor body is naturally only earth. Why do you labor about it to no purpose? If you shall learn nothing else, you will learn from time that the body is nothing. But if a man comes to me daubed with filth, dirty, with a moustache down to his knees, what can I say to him? By what kind of resemblance can I lead him on? For about what has he busied himself which resembles beauty, that I may be able to change him and say, beauty is not in this but in that? Would you have me to tell him that beauty consists not in being daubed with muck, but that it lies in the rational part? Has he any desire of beauty? Has he any form of it in his mind? Go and talk to a hog, and tell him not to roll in the mud. For this reason the words of Xenocrates touched Pullman also, since he was a lover of beauty. For he entered the room, having in him certain incitements, letter 1 F10 nu alpha epsilon sigma mu alpha tau alpha, to love of beauty, but he looked for it in the wrong place. For nature has not made even the animals dirty which live with man. Does a horse ever wallow in the mud, or a well-bred dog? But the hog, and the dirty geese, and worms, and spiders do, which are banished furthest from human intercourse. Do you then, being a man, choose to be not as one of the animals which live with man, but rather a worm or a spider? Will you not wash yourself somewhere sometime in such manner as you choose? Will you not wash off the dirt from your body? Will you not come clean, that those with whom you keep company may have pleasure in being with you? But do you go with us even into the temples in such a state, where it is not permitted to spit or blow the nose, being a heap of spittle and of snot? What then does any man, that is, do I, require you to ornament yourself? Far from it, except to ornament that which we really are by nature. The rational faculty, the opinions, the actions, but as to the body only so far as purity, only so far as not to give offense. But if you are told that you ought not to wear garments dyed with purple, go and daub your cloak with muck or tear it. But how shall I have a neat cloak? Man, you have water, wash it. Here is a youth worthy of being loved. Here is an old man worthy of loving and being loved in return. A fit person for a man to entrust to him a son's instruction. to whom daughters and young men shall come, if opportunity shall so happen, that the teacher shall deliver his lessons to them on a dunghill. Let this not be so. Every deviation comes from something which is in man's nature, but this deviation is near being something not in man's nature. Chapter Roman 12 on attention. When you have remitted your attention for a short time, do not imagine this, that you will recover it when you choose. But let this thought be present to you, that in consequence of the fault committed today your affairs must be in a worse condition for all that follows. For first, and what causes most trouble, a habit of not attending is formed in you, then a habit of deferring your attention. And continually from time to time you drive away, by deferring it, the happiness of life. Proper behavior, the being and living conformably to nature. If then the procrastination of attention is profitable, the complete omission of attention is more profitable. But if it is not profitable, why do you not maintain your attention constant? Today I choose to play. Well then, ought you not to play with attention? I choose to sing. What then hinders you from doing so with attention? Is there any part of life accepted to which attention does not extend? For will you do it anything in life worse by using attention? And better by not attending at all? And what else of the things in life is done better by those who do not use attention? Does he who works in wood work better by not attending to it? Does the captain of a ship manage it better by not attending? And is any of the smaller acts done better by inattention? Do you not see that when you have let your mind loose, it is no longer in your power to recall it, either to propriety, or to modesty, or to moderation, but you do everything that comes into your mind in obedience to your inclinations? To what things then ought I to attend? First to those general principles, and to have them in readiness, and without them not to sleep, not to rise, not to drink, not to eat, not to converse, associate with men, that no man is master of another man's will, but that in the will alone is the good and the bad. No man then has the power either to procure for me any good or to involve me in any evil, but I alone myself over myself have power in these things. When then these things are secured to me, why need I be disturbed about external things? What tyrant is formidable, what disease, what poverty, what offense from any man? Well, I have not pleased a certain person. Is he then the pleasing of him, my work, my judgment? No. Why then should I trouble myself about him? But he is supposed to be someone of importance. He will look to that himself, and those who think so will also. But I have one whom I ought to please, to whom I ought to subject myself, whom I ought to obey, God and those who are next to him. He has placed me with myself, and has put my will in obedience to myself alone, and has given me rules for the right use of it, and when I follow these rules in syllogisms. I do not care for any man who says anything else different. In sophistical argument I care for no man. Why then in greater matters do those annoy me who blame me? What is the cause of this perturbation? Nothing else than because in this matter topic I am not disciplined. For all knowledge, science despises ignorance and the ignorant, and not only the sciences but even the arts. Produce any shoemaker that you please, and he ridicules the many in respect to his own work business. Produce any carpenter. First then we ought to have these rules in readiness, and to do nothing without them, and we ought to keep the soul directed to this mark, to pursue nothing external, and nothing which belongs to others or is in the power of others, but to do as he has appointed who has the power. We ought to pursue altogether the things which are in the power of the will, and all other things as it is permitted. Next to this we ought to remember who we are and what is our name, and to endeavor to direct our duties toward the character nature of our several relations in life in this manner. What is the season for singing? What is the season for play, and in whose presence? What will be the consequence of the act? Whether our associates will despise us, whether we shall despise them. When to jeer, sigma kappa letter 1 ff6 psi alpha iota, and whom to ridicule. And on what occasion to comply and with whom. And finally, in complying how to maintain our own character. But wherever you have deviated from any of these rules, there is damage immediately, not from anything external, but from the action itself. What then? Is it possible to be free from fault if you do all this? It is not possible, but this is possible, to direct your efforts incessantly to being faultless. For we must be content if by never remitting this attention we shall escape at least a few errors. But now when you have said, tomorrow I will begin to attend, you must be told that you are saying this, today I will be shameless, disregardful of time and place, mean. It will be in the power of others to give me pain, today I will be passionate and envious. See how many evil things you are permitting yourself to do. If it is good to use attention tomorrow, how much better is it to do so today? If tomorrow it is in your interest to attend, much more is it today, that you may be able to do so tomorrow also, and may not defer it again to the third day. Chapter Roman 13, against or to those who readily tell their own affairs. When a man has seemed to us to have talked with simplicity, candor, about his own affairs, how is it that at last we are ourselves also induced to discover to him our own secrets, and we think this to be candid behavior? In the first place, because it seems unfair for a man to have listened to the affairs of his neighbor, and not to communicate to him also in turn our own affairs, next. Because we think that we shall not present to them the appearance of candid men when we are silent about our own affairs. Indeed, men are often accustomed to say, I have told you all my affairs, will you tell me nothing of your own? Where is this done? Besides, we have also this opinion that we can safely trust him who has already told us his own affairs. For the notion rises in our mind that this man could never divulge our affairs, because he would be cautious that we also should not divulge his. In this way also the incautious are caught by the soldiers at Rome. A soldier sits by you in a common dress and begins to speak ill of Caesar, then you, as if you had received a pledge of his fidelity by his having begun the abuse, utter yourself also what you think, and then you are carried off in chains. Something of this kind happens to us also generally. Now as this man has confidently entrusted his affairs to me, shall I also do so to any man whom I meet? No, for when I have heard I keep silence if I am of such a disposition, but he goes forth and tells all men what he has heard. Then if I hear what has been done, if I be a man like him, I resolve to be revenged, I divulge what he has told me, I both disturb others and am disturbed myself. But if I remember that one man does not injure another, and that every man's acts injure and profit him, I secure this, that I do not anything like him, but still, I suffer what I do suffer through my own silly talk. True, but it is unfair when you have heard the secrets of your neighbor for you in your turn to communicate nothing to him. Did I ask you for your secrets, my man? Did you communicate your affairs on certain terms that you should in return hear mine also? If you are a babbler and think that all who meet you are friends, do you wish me also to be like you? But why, if you did well in entrusting your affairs to me, and it is not well for me to entrust mine to you? Do you wish me to be so rash? It is just the same as if I had a cask which is watertight, and you one with a hole in it, and you should come and deposit with me your wine that I might put it into my cask, and then should complain that I also did not entrust my wine to you, for you have a cask with a hole in it. How then is there any equality here? You entrusted your affairs to a man who is faithful and modest, to a man who thinks that his own actions alone are injurious and or useful and that nothing external is. Would you have me entrust mine to you, a man who has dishonored his own faculty of will, and who wishes to gain some small bit of money or some office or promotion in the court emperor's palace, even if you should be going to murder your own children like Medea? Where and what is this equality, fairness? But show yourself to me to be faithful, modest, and steady. Show me that you have friendly opinions. Show that your cask has no hole in it, and you will see how I shall not wait for you to trust me with your affairs, but I myself shall come to you and ask you to hear mine. For who does not choose to make use of a good vessel? Who does not value a benevolent and faithful adviser? Who will not willingly receive a man who is ready to bear a share, as we may say, of the difficulty of his circumstances, and by this very act to ease the burden, by taking a part of it? True, but I trust you, you do not trust me. In the first place, not even do you trust me, but you are a babbler, and for this reason you cannot hold anything. For indeed, if it is true that you trust me, trust your affairs to me only. But now whenever you see a man at leisure, you seat yourself by him and say, Brother, I have no friend more benevolent than you nor dearer. I request you to listen to my affairs. And you do this even to those who are not known to you at all. But if you really trust me, it is plain that you trust me because I am faithful and modest, not because I have told my affairs to you. Allow me then to have the same opinion about you. Show me that if one man tells his affairs to another, he who tells them is faithful and modest. For if this were so, I would go about and tell my affairs to every man, if that would make me faithful and modest. But the thing is not so, and it requires no common opinions principles. If then you see a man who is busy about things not dependent on his will and subjecting his will to them, you must know that this man has 10,000 persons to compel and hinder him. He has no need of pitch or the wheel to compel him to declare what he knows, but a little girl's nod. If it should so happen will move him, the blandishment of one who belongs to Caesar's court, desire of a magistracy or of an inheritance, and things without end of that sort. You must remember then among general principles that secret discourses about secret matters, require fidelity and corresponding opinions. But where can we now find these easily? Or if you cannot answer that question, let someone point out to me a man who can say, I care only about the things which are my own, the things which are not subject to hindrance, the things which are by nature free. This I hold to be the nature of the good, but let all other things be as they are allowed, I do not concern myself.